if you're planning your event the same year that you plan on hosting it, you're not going to be successful. And this is what happens with nonprofit leaders who don't understand how to plan a successful event. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through how to plan a successful event. Success means profitable. Join me on this episode.
Welcome to On Air with Amber Wynn, where nonprofit leaders learn to fuse passion and commitment with proven business strategies to create long-term funding, impact, and sustainability. And now here's your host and resident philanthrepreneur, Amber Wynn.
Hey fam, it's your girl. Welcome to On Air with Amber Wynn. Today we're going to talk about how to plan a successful event because there is a formula, right? There's a formula for making sure that whatever event you plan is successful. And my definition of successful is profitable, right? I can't tell you how many times people will put on events and either break even or get put in a hole. And it's because they don't understand the formula for success. There is a formula. And the primary thing I want to share with you is you don't want to plan an event the same year that you host it. I have people say to me, oh, yeah, we're planning a gala. It's spring. When are you going to have the gala? In the fall? And I'll say, of this year? And they're like, yeah. And I say, you're planning it? Yeah, we're planning it now. We're going to have it in the fall. And I tell them it's not going to be successful. And they look at me like, oh, you're such a Debbie Downer. But the reality is you need to plan your events a year in advance. A year in advance. Here's why. Number one, depending on when you start, let's just say if you want to host it in the fall, you're no longer able to get on the budgets of corporations, right? And the reason why you need to get on the budget of corporations is because in order for you to have a successful fundraising event, you want to have all of your expenses covered before you even go into the year of the event. Corporations set their budgets in the fall. So between September and November, that's when they set their budgets. You want to be in that budget, right? So if they set their budget in 2025 and it's 2026 and you're going for money, that budget is already set. So you're not going to get the money that you need. You may get some discretionary funds if you know somebody at the company, but you want to start doing your outreach the year before because you want to get in those corporations' budgets. You want to make sure that that check is going to be, cut. The purpose of corporate sponsorships, ladies and gentlemen, for events is to cover the entire cost of the event. So then your ticket sales, your silent auctions, your raffles, all of those things are pure revenue. What happens is people go in and, they put these deposits and then they have to pay for food and beverage and entertainment. And you've got the invitations and the decorations. You have all of these expenses. Then you raise money, not a lot of money. You didn't calculate the expenses. So maybe you raised $20,000, but your expenses were 15 of those. So you really only netted $5,000. When we come back, I'm going to walk you through the formula for success on how to plan a profitable event.
If your grants aren't getting funded, it could be because the funder can't see how your programs are making an impact in your community. Get the How to Demonstrate Impact workbook to quantify the work you're doing in your community in a way that a funder can see a potential return on their investment. Funders need proof that your organization will use their grant dollars to improve your community. That proof is called impact, and impact is quantified through measurable outcomes. Leverage my 30 years of program development experience to help increase your chance of securing funding. Order your copy today.
Welcome back. We're talking about how to plan successful events. The very first thing you want to do is to plan, right? A gala, a golf tournament, anything big like that, where you have to put a deposit for the revenue, where you have to pay for food and beverage, it's important that you plan them a year out. Here's why. When you go looking for hotel space for your gala the year of, you're getting the scraps, and you want to be able to project your revenue. Follow me, please. So you've decided that you're going to host this gala. The gala only seats 250 chairs. So based off of that, there's only a certain amount of money you can generate, right? Because you only have 250 chairs. You were thinking you were going to charge 150 for those seats. Well, if you have a budget, which is the first thing you want to do, is create a budget for your event. People just say, oh, we're going to have a gala. What's the budget? What do you mean? You need to have a funding goal. This is how I determine my funding goals. If I can't generate at least the salary of somebody on my team, then it's not worth the effort. So let's just say you're shooting for the salary of your executive director, $80,000. That's what you want to generate, right? So that's your fundraising goal. Now you have to determine what are your expenses. After the venue, the entertainment, the decorations, the food and beverage, the AV, whatever, you know that expense is going to be $25,000. So you subtract $25,000 from your $80,000, right? Because even if you generate that $80,000, you've put in that $25,000. You have to calculate that, right? People don't do that. They just go in, put down the deposits, and they're like, oh, well, we made $7,500. Did you really? Because you didn't calculate the expenses. So in order to have a successful event, you need to have a fundraising goal. How much is it that you want to fundraise? And then deduct the expenses. Because if you know it's going to cost $25,000, then you're no longer fundraising $80,000. You're not. Now you're fundraising $80,000 plus the $25,000, right? Because if you subtract that $25,000 from the $80,000, you really only generated $65,000. That's where the rub is. You've got to calculate in the expenses. So starting a year in advance, you can secure all of the corporate sponsors that's going to cover all of the expenses so that all of the revenue that comes in is really going to be considered profit. Otherwise, the revenue that's going to come in has to go to replace the expenses. Have a fundraising goal, because if you have a fundraising goal, let's just say that those 250 seats, you realize if I price them at $150, I'm only going to generate $60,000. Your goal is $80,000. So now you know you have to get a bigger venue so you can host more seats, right? You don't want to go up on your ticket price. So if you get a bigger venue that holds 500 seats, you can sell more seats at $150, because the likelihood people aren't going to pay $200 or $250, which is what you need to raise in order to hit that mark. If you start to try and do your event in the same year of your organization is having the event, you won't have that type of flexibility with space. All of the hotel spaces have been booked. If you start a year in advance, let's just say your gala is in the spring, March 25th. March 27th, you should be looking for space for next year for your gala if it's something that you do annually. The very first thing you want to do is to set your fundraising goal. How much do you want to raise? Because that's going to determine the price of your tickets, right? That's going to determine how much you go for your silent auction. All of these things can be determined, right? So as I just showed you on our commercial, I have a book. It's called How to Price Your Event for a Profitable. I can't even say it, y'all. How to price your event for profit. There are formulas for it. It starts with planning your event the year out and then setting a fundraising goal, deducting your expenses so that you can be sure that you're going to make your mark. If you're doing RSVPs, you know in plenty time if you're going to make your mark. If you're not going to make your mark, you have plenty of time to cancel. And so now you're not in the hole. So all of this should be done with intentionality, with the goal and following a formula. If you follow the formula, you can ensure that you're going to make a profit. All right. When we come back, I am going to answer your questions, and then we're going to jump into the nonprofit spotlight when we come back.
If you're thinking about hosting a gala, golf tournament, or any other kind of event, make sure at the end of the event you generate a profit and not come out with a loss. There's a formula for guaranteeing that your event will generate a profit. You'll find it in my How to Price Event Tickets for Profit Toolkit. Learn the insider secrets for how to ensure your event will always make a profit every time. Order your copy today.
Welcome back to On Air with Amber. Now it's time for you to ask me your pressing questions. I get to leverage my 30 years of nonprofit experience to share with you insider tips, tricks, trades, and just experience, y'all. So feel free to hit me up on any of my social media handles to ask me your question. Today's question is coming from Junior.
Hey, Amber, this is Junior. Yeah, so I've been working with youth the past 2 or 3 years, doing sports, football, basketball, soccer, and swimming in the summer. This was the year I was going to, officially start, what's the term, incorporate my nonprofit. But given all that's going on in the world, should I even bother? It's looking bleak, to be honest.
Things are definitely looking bleak, Junior, if you look at what is, right? And I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. It's a tumultuous time for our country. And with that said, your kids need you, right? It's heavy, and sports is an amazing way for kids to get out and run and exert energy and laugh and play. So I'm not going to discourage you from doing the work that you do. Do you need to start a nonprofit? That's up to you, because starting a nonprofit is starting a business. And here's the truth about you starting your business during these times. Your nonprofit likely won't be impacted. The monies that are being impacted by this administration are federal funds. And the likelihood that you qualify for federal funds in your startup phase are very, very small. You're likely going to qualify for foundation grants. Now, here's the truth. Foundations, over 350 foundations totaling, I think they said $55 billion are going to be impacted. What does that mean? That means that the foundations are going to be scrutinized for the nonprofits that they are funding. So, with that said, I would encourage you to continue to do the work because the communities need it, but maybe not with the same format that you had planned on doing. Instead of starting a nonprofit, maybe you could get fiscally sponsored. Have a authorized fiscal sponsor receive grants on your behalf, help you with doing the reporting, help you with doing the grant management, help you with doing the financial management. Do that for about 2 or 3 years, right? So that you can do a test run to even see if you want to start a nonprofit. Starting a nonprofit is starting a business. But if you're fiscally sponsored, there's another organization that primarily carries the weight of running a nonprofit because they're doing the back end work. You get to do the front end work. So I would consider doing that. I'm going to encourage you to continue to do the work in your community because the world needs you right now. And those babies really, really look forward to your programming, I'm sure. So consider a different mode until you feel more comfortable with running a business. It's not even about what's going on in the world. It's about you running a nonprofit business. All right. I hope that helped more than just one person. These times are uncertain, but if I can share with you really quickly something that's really important for nonprofits to understand, the world needs nonprofits. When people are laid off, when people are fired, when people are displaced, The government is not the agency that's going to take care of those people. Private industry is not the entity that's going to take care of those people. It's the nonprofits who are going to. So there's going to be more need. Here's the rub. Even though there's going to be more need, there's going to be more scrutiny in how nonprofits are funding. Now is the time for you to spend in strengthening your infrastructure. If you don't look the part, if you can't pass eligibility, it's going to be even harder for you to get funding. Not just grants, but any type of funding. Why? Because this administration is going to be scrutinizing the people who are giving you the money. So you've got to look even tighter. Your infrastructure's got to be even tighter. Your reporting, your compliance has got to be even tighter. So if you're worried, I'm going to say the need will be there. And if you look the part, if you can pass, the scrutiny, it's going to be a good year, a good 4 years for you because they're creating the need. You've just got to be ready so that you can meet the qualifications of the funding that's out there. All right. So now we're going to transition into the last segment of the episode, which is my ode to all nonprofit leaders out there doing the work. It's the Nonprofit Spotlight and is the last episode with Pamela Clay of Living Advantage. Let's jump right in.
If they dropped $1 billion right now in my account, they put a direct deposit. Well, let me go check my account real quick. If they do a $1 billion direct deposit, guess what? It's never enough. It doesn't matter how much money you make. So therefore, you have to understand how to leverage what you do have and how you can be impactful. Living Advantage. For 31 years, we've had our e-newsletter and we've done PSAs and interviews, and we've always been in the limelight. We've always gotten exposure. I've done red carpets. We do concerts and sporting. We do all different types of ways to get exposure. And of course, it's to get donors. It's been doing this for 31 years. So I don't want to make it seem like it's easy, but we're getting funded for exactly what I know we needed to be getting funded for the last 20 years, right? 20 years I've been writing the same information, the same thing. What I know impacts my kids the most.
Right.
Same narrative. But guess what? They didn't understand virtual services. They didn't understand technology, having a software application and maintained by. They didn't understand any of that. But until when COVID came, that's when it opened up for me. And now the money is flowing for exactly what I know works.
And we're back. That was the final and fourth episode of my conversation with Pamela Clay of Living Advantage. If you'd like for me to spotlight your nonprofit and the amazing work that you do in the community, hit me up on any of my social medias. I'd be happy to give you the visibility that you need so that your clients can find you, so that funders can find you. Also, if you want to watch the full episode of my conversation with Pamela Clay, go on over to my YouTube channel. You can watch that and other interviews that I've had, not only with nonprofit leaders, but the consultants out there who support them. I'm so excited to be a part of your life. Thank you for joining me this week and every week. If you've seen, heard, thought of something that you think would be beneficial to someone else in our community, please like, subscribe, and share this episode. And be sure to join me next week because I'll be here. And as always, take care of yourself like you take care of your community. See you next week.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Head over to www.amberwynn.net/podcast for the links and resources mentioned in today's podcast. See you next time.